Hey, I'm Matt Manny. Thanks so much for joining me for today's devotional thought. Today is a great devotional. We're going to talk about secret rules. We've got a great game we love to play with our friends for our small group, our Bible study, and sometimes with our extended family. It's called Balderdash. And with that game, it usually takes some strange word that's not been used in most modern conversations, and you have to give a definition for that word. Well, kind of a take on that part of the game. There's another part of the game where it gives a law, and it states the law, and it says, what would this law be? Some kind of crazy law, if you will. Laws that are laughable. Well, here's some of the laws, just to give you an overview, to understand how laughable these things are. In Alaska, moose aren't allowed to walk on the sidewalks. Illinois, no fancy bike riding. Maine, no roller skate stunts. Massachusetts, no exploding golf balls. New Hampshire, no cemetery picnics. I'm not sure why you want to go picnic in a cemetery in the first place. New Mexico, no stopping mid-anthem, so you can't start singing and then stop. You have to finish it. Tennessee, no Netflix password sharing. That's probably being broken all over the place. North Carolina, limited bingo time. Virginia, no hunting on Sunday. And Washington, if you're gonna go Sasquatch hunting, you can't go Sasquatch poaching. No Sasquatch poaching, if there are Sasquatches. Now these laws, well, they're laughable, but what's funny is for each of us, we have rules, secret rules that we keep, that we hold ourselves to, that I would never do this, or I'd never do that. It's not a biblical, and it's not a moral, it's not a legal issue. It's just something for us personally. Maybe we had something take place where people laughed at us, or we felt embarrassed, or we watched something take place in our parents' lives or a friend's life as a young child or as a teenager, and we made this vow at that point: I will never be out of control. I will never look bad. I will never be laughed at. And Paul talks about this problem to a church, the churches of Galatia, in the book of Galatians, where they were making secret vows that didn't line up with God's word, and they were creating a life that wasn't lived for God, but was all about living up to their own standards and expectations. And maybe you find yourself saying things like, I would never let myself do what they're doing, becoming very judgmental. We might say things, well, I would never let my children do what they're letting their children do. They're obviously let themselves go how they dress or what they look like. I would never appear like that, or I'd never let myself go like that. I would be caught dead wearing what they're wearing. And people who do what they're doing are weak, and I would never want to look weak myself. And on the list goes. I read the story one time about a businessman who made a secret vow. Maybe you kind of get this. He had the secret vow that people who carried rolling luggage were compromisers. They were cheating the system. They were weak. They were being lazy in his mind. And so he went out and bought a really expensive leather over-the-shoulder a garment bag, and another really expensive, beautiful leather carry-on bag. And so he had those loaded up, weighed down, and as he would walk through the airport, he would take a little bit of pride in himself that he was kind of pulling his weight and carrying his load, and he wasn't cheating the system like these other losers or slackers, if you will, that were passing him by. And one time he was traveling the airport, and he was in a rush going from one gate to the next, and he was sweating and in a huff and frustrated, and he saw another lady, calm, cool, collected, as she was walking along and pulling behind her, you guessed it, rolling luggage. And as he finally got to his gate and realized the state that he was in, that he was frustrated and fatigued, and was it really worth it? Was his secret rule that I'll never have rolling luggage, was it really helping him out in the long run? Maybe you find yourself like that as well too. What Paul identifies as this is that many times we have secret rules that are just rubbish in the end. Maybe you have rules that your parents made, or traditions that your grandparents held to, or things and vows that you made that really it doesn't honor God, and ultimately, if we'll be honest with ourselves, it dishonors God. David says this, however, in Psalm 51 verse 10, listen to these words: create in me a pure, a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit in me. That God has a way of chipping off the excess things that don't honor and please Him. And through your life right now, think about where you're at. Are there things in your life that are hindering you from loving and living for God? Are there secret rules that you have that really, well, they're not in the Bible, it's not illegal, it's not immoral, it's just a personal law, a personal rule, but really it's getting in the way of you loving God, living for Him, and really loving other people, that you're using it as a way of feeling self-righteous and feeling better about yourself than other people. And God says He affirms us and He loves us, and our sense of self-worth comes from not what we do or not the rules we have, but it comes from God. That's how we know our worth and our value and know that we're loved. So as you think about it, cultivating and creating a life you love comes back to then having that relationship with God, living out His purposes in our life, discovering who He created us to be, and understanding what He called us to do. For further study to understand what Paul was talking about and to unpack this big theological issue, go to Galatians chapter 2, verses 20 and 21. Thanks for watching.